You're listening to Oppositional Forces. Bad guys for good reasons. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Oppositional Forces. We are Op 4. I am your host, Scotty Don't. And here in the studio with me today in our glorious Rage Room is Mr. Frost, the last Jotun of the Frozen North.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about safety. What is safety? What kind of mindset you need to have in your everyday life? How we're safe at home, work, school, when you're out and about, and especially while you're training. So let's just jump right into it. Mr. Frost, I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to understand this right off the bat, and they're going to give us like the big old, like, come on, man, we're going to do a safety brief. But it's not like that. We're not here. We're not, going to rock this on being super boring, to beat that dead horse. But before every class, before every training evolution, you have to have some kind of whatever you want to call it, the come to Jesus moment, where everybody is put in the right mindset, to have that framework, that scaffolding around what you're about to do that day, so that everybody goes home.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that when you start talking about safety, part of that is ego check. I mean, when you start talking about safety as an instructor, when I start talking about safety and I start looking across the room, whether it's just an in-classroom class, or we're getting ready to go out on the range, or we're on the range or something like that, I watch a lot of people to kind of check that ego. Because, I'm safe. But you're watching them load their magazines and they're pulling their gun out and they're flagging everybody while we're, on the bench making ready, things like that, that it's just like, okay, how in depth do we need to go into safety? How much ego do we need to check in order to really remind people that safety isn't just a safety brief? Safety is a mindset. No matter what, no matter where you are, what you're doing, whether it's classroom or just life.
Right. I mean, you step into a classroom and you're learning, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you're taking a concealed weapons course. It doesn't matter if you're taking a home defense class. If you're learning how to fold laundry the correct way. I still can't get the fitted sheet
right,
the way.
Right.
I don't know, man. I need a YouTube tutorial and then some. My poor mother,
or just somebody else
she worked so hard to get me there, and it just never stuck. No, but I mean, at the beginning, let's take the classroom, for example. You walk in, you sit down, you're pulling out your note-taking gear and your writing gear. And, what's the first thing that your instructor says? Hey, everybody, I want you to close your notebooks, put your hands on your lap, take a big, deep breath. I want you to get into a learning mindset.
Right. Turn off those cell phones, put them away.
Right. Exactly. And then I want you, after you've kind of closed your eyes and taken that deep breath, open your eyes and identify where the exits are. Every class, every
right.
good class.
Right.
And in case of fire or disorder, we're going to meet in the front parking lot, the rear parking lot, across the street, the fire hydrant, a block away, whatever it is.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it so that we're all on the same page. I don't care if you're on the firing range. I don't care if you're doing close quarter combat. I don't care if you're in a dojo, whatever it is. Hey, everybody, today we're going 60% effort. We don't want broken bones. We don't want gouged out eyes. This is the exit.
Yeah.
it was the gouged out eyes, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's what did it for you. Because, you know, when you're getting into a training environment, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. It doesn't matter if it's a classroom environment. It doesn't matter if it's a shooting range, an elite driving class like at VDI. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you are commanding that day, whether it's your brain, a vehicle, an airplane, a gun, safety.
A knife.
Oh, I mean, shout out to Tuhan Tomkire, the master and commander of Sayat Kali in the United States. If you're running blades, even plastic blades, training blades, right? Some of them are plastic, some of them are aluminum. They will mess you up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
They will. And you'll go home covered in welts and scratches, torn clothes, because, yes, they're safer than an actual edged weapon. But you're playing pretend, but for real.
Oh, yeah. One of my biggest mentors, Waldevir Jr., he's out in Brazil. He was here stateside a couple of years back, but you know, he is, I want to say he's like 80% all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time when he's training. And I remember the first class I took with him, it was in somebody's backyard. Mm-hmm. And I went home and it was like a 3-day class. I went home and my arms were so bruised and hurt so bad because I was the training dummy.
Right.
And he is all of maybe 5'4", mm-hmm. just this big, not even big, but just this mountain of testosterone and strength that, you know, he works with the Black Skulls in Brazil, and man, he's so quick and he is so harsh. It really checked my ego. I was like, oh, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. Of course, this guy's from Brazil. That's one thing. But then he pulls out blades, and he's got this dummy blade that's made of aluminum, and he carves me up, and I have an X bruise on my chest, and both of my arms look like literally, like I was trying to cut my wrists with a spoon.
Right. Yeah. You know. And you get into a class like that, and what's the first thing that they talk about? This is what we're here to do. Wrap your mind around it.
Right. It's going to hurt.
And then this is what we're going to do, you know, to secure everybody's, ability to go home at the end of the day.
Right. Right. Have fun with it, but be safe.
Right.
We're going to unload our firearms, or we're going to put them somewhere else. We're going to leave them in our vehicles, whatever it is, mm-hmm. in case somebody does get an ego boost and kind of loses it a little bit because of, on accident, somebody gets jabbed in the jaw. Because ultimately, when you start swinging knives around, especially plastic ones, you'll catch it to the face, and
you can spoon somebody's eyeball out, you know, with a fake karambit,
right?
And then it's game over,
right?
You know, and now everybody's got to take a knee, and the day's over.
Yeah,
you know, because Tyson's going home, or he's going to the hospital in an ambulance. The ambulance doesn't take you home.
Well, it could, I guess, you know, the guys, but you know, I mean, I even have another mentor, Ben, with Dragon Tail up north. He teaches Kempo, but Ben is crazy with a blade, and he goes hard too. And I love that type of training, because at the end of the day, you feel it. I mean, you literally feel it, but it's always having the mindset of, hey, we're going to be safe. And once you get to that point where it's like, okay, this is really starting to hurt, you speak up.
Right.
Don't muscle through it, because you're no good once your mind is in that pain mode.
You hyperextend something, you tear something.
And then it's no fun anymore.
Right, exactly. And the training's over, because now all you can think about is
how bad it hurts,
how messed up you are.
Right.
Yeah, no. And so I think a lot of what I want to get into today is letting everybody take a moment before we really start diving in to the meat and potatoes on this podcast about what it is that they should be thinking about before they hit play. Before we start going into improvised weapons, lock picking, knife work, gun play, explosives, IED identification, booby trapping, all these kind of things, tracking, hiking, preparedness, wilderness survival, the things that we get into down the road.
Right.
Before you hit play, you have to understand where we are, what we're doing, right? Focus, take your mind away from the what if, and what are we going to do halfway through the class? How exciting is this going to be? Oh man, they're going to talk about this. We're going to do this. Let's. You were like a bull in a china shop.
Sorry, I had to close that door. I hear this humming noise from the ventilation system here at the Smash Labs.
So, ultimately, I think, people should have an understanding of, when you're at home, at work, whatever it is that you're doing, take a moment before you step into the office, before you put your head, on the pillow at night, and make sure you're safe. You lock your doors, before you go to sleep, right?
Some people do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we live in southern Utah. The worst case scenario is you'll wake up and the missionaries are eating cereal at your kitchen counter and,
right.
Hi guys. Oh, the door was unlocked.
Yeah. They made me coffee though, so I can't complain.
They're not drinking it, but they brewed it for you.
Yeah, I can't complain. That hospitality.
So, I mean, it begins and it ends with ego. If you think that you know everything, then you're wrong, and you're not going to train right. You're not going to be prepared. You're not going to have your head in the right space to be able to function appropriately in whatever environment you're in.
Right.
So, let's talk about at home, right? So there's a lot of things that can go wrong in a house. So, the obvious, burglaries, fires, floods,
earthquakes here in Utah,
and so you have to have an understanding. Well, I think we're in big trouble if we get hurricanes in Utah.
Well, we did have tornadoes, so hey.
And you're not wrong. And you know what? You and I just spent a month in Louisiana at ground zero following Hurricane Ida.
Right.
Looking at the devastation, out there protecting, the linemen that are out there, putting the power back on for everybody. And you realize who was prepared and who wasn't.
Right.
Even
the guys out there working with us. I mean, we were working contracted out through another company, but, they give you the warning of like, hey, bring water. Hey, bring canned food, because we don't know if we're going to have food for you right away. Right.
Yeah. The email I got initially was, hey, you're going to be going into an austere environment.
Right.
Prepare accordingly.
Right. And it's funny. I mean, you were definitely somewhere where it was a lot more devastation than I was, but we got the lap of luxury. We got rooms to ourselves type of thing. I'm going to rub this in on you a little bit, but
the salt in the wound.
Yeah. But I mean, right there at the talk, we didn't have any power. We had running water, but we didn't have any power. So, me working nights like I like to do, during the day in the heat in Louisiana, and shutting that hotel room door and that sweltering heat and trying to sleep during the day, that was awful.
Right.
But hearing those guys whine and complain about, oh, this is an unhospitable environment. Really? You think? Hey, at least you're out of the element in case it's super hot out here or it starts raining, or Lord forbid, another, like last year when you were out there, hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, who's to say that a hurricane wouldn't just pop up again? Because Mother Nature's a fickle little woman.
Yeah. No, and so, you know, these people in their homes, you get in this mindset because you see it every day. You're there, you know, if you're not at work, if you're not at your kid's soccer game, you're home, and you get too comfortable.
Right.
And so that complacency, you know, we like to say in the military world, complacency kills.
Right.
Because you start taking things for granted. You know, oh, you know, yeah, my 10-year-old knows how to, you know, fry up some eggs in the morning. And then I wake up to a smoke alarm.
Right.
You know, because he forgets that a stove is still hot, even though he's turned the burner off.
Right.
And the hand towel, you know, gets placed on the stove. And, you know, now all of a sudden I'm in firefighter mode.
That hasn't happened.
So when you're at home, you have to take your head out of your bottom, look around, and realize.
He means ass.
I do.
I know we're family friendly here, but you know,
it's all right. My mom's gonna listen to like the first podcast. She'll be like, you know what? This isn't for me. And yeah, you have to identify what are your risk factors, what are the dangers, and then work from there. Right. And it is a laundry list.
Right, it is, but it's also not a paranoid laundry list of, oh, what's going to go wrong today? Most
right.
Definitely. I think that just having it in the back of your mind of really realizing, hey, you know, I lock my door when I go to bed. You know what I mean? I got, you know, I don't have, all my kids are grown now, but I mean, like some of us, you know, have kids that are in situations of like, you know, maybe I'm in the back of the house and they're in the front of the house type of thing. And I'm going to check that door. I'm going to make sure that door's locked. I'm going to make sure I turned off the oven after making dinner. You know what I mean? Like I've done that. I don't know how many times I did that when my kids were little of like, oh, I'm heating up pizzas for everybody. And I've made pizzas for 1,500 kids because my girls want to have all their friends over to have, you know, watch Sons of Anarchy back in the day, and they'd have Sons of Anarchy night or whatever. And I'm making oven pizzas constantly. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that I left the oven on and I was like, why is it so freaking hot in here? Why is the air conditioner just constantly running? And then I walk past the oven and realize it's been on for 2 days at 380 degrees. I'm like, oh, well, that's going to be a fun power bill.
Right. Yeah. And so, you know, there's just these areas that need that extra attention, that need you to step outside of, oh, I'm home, I'm safe, and realize, hey, you know what? Like, nobody's perfect.
Right.
You know, I walk through my front door, I always lock it behind me. And it's because you never know. How many YouTube videos have you watched where, you know, somebody's walking up to their front door, somebody's been laying in wait, you know, in the darkness or, you know, just out of view. And as you approach your door, you've got your back to the world. You start going through the door and somebody's coming in behind you.
Situational awareness.
Right. You got to open your eyes.
Right.
You've got to see what's going on behind you, you know, in front of you, around you. I particularly don't like to use my front door because that's where I would put something to distract me, to distract the homeowner just long enough for me to get up on them.
Right.
I put a note on the door like, hey, neighbor, whatever. As I'm pulling in, if I see something on my doorstep, I'm going into the garage. The garage closes before I get out of the car. Color me paranoid. and then if I saw something on my front door, I go to the front door. I open my front door. I can see everything that's coming.
I don't know. I agree with you. I don't live in that environment, but You hear me cuss all the time when I come to your house. Like, you just walk through the door and you lock me out. You know what I mean? I got to use a key to get in, or even where I live currently, like I have roommates, just because we're on the move so much, me especially, that it's one of those situations where I will literally watch my roommate come home from work and they will lock the door. I'm like, hey, don't lock the door. I'm coming in right behind you. They will lock the door. I'm like, nobody is coming to steal you. I promise. I promise. I shadow the door when I'm standing there. Like, nobody's laying in wait, anything like that. And it's just habit. And I like that it's habit for them, because I don't have that mentality. I really don't, because I do have the mentality of F around and find out.
Right. Well, I mean, if only to put context on what it is that your roommate's doing, because I know your roommate and knew your roommate before you moved down.
Right.
Every now and again, on the odd night, they would hear the door handle jiggle.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get it.
Some meth heads walking around, the neighborhood checking doors to see what's open and what's not. And if it's open, guess what? They coming in.
Right. But that has drastically changed, considering most everybody in a 4-block radius thinks that I work for the government or something like that, coming in and out. But at the same time, I keep strange hours too. So I kind of keep that element away because, well, let's face it, I got bad habits. I smoke. And going in and out of that door at all hours, nobody really, even the crackheads down the street, know that they can never guess when I'm going to be outside.
Well, and part of being safe is being unpredictable.
Right.
If you do the same thing every single day, how safe can you possibly be? Funny story. I was living in Indiana. My roommate and I were training full time with one of my mentors, and it just so happened that in the apartment building that we lived on the basement floor was a drug dealer. I didn't know he was a drug dealer. He was just a particularly rude gentleman who really didn't have any kind words to say to the two of us, so we paid him no mind. The DEA was watching him, and therefore they were watching everybody else, because, when you got your eyes glued on a front door all day, you're going to notice everything else going on.
Right.
Well, we were particularly suspicious because of the type of training that we were doing. So you would see us during the day going to the gun range, going to the dojo, and at night we were clearing our apartment with unloaded firearms for practice.
Stacking on the door.
Stacking on our own door. We were in the front yard using training blades and doing all sorts of what you would consider super weird stuff. So, of course, we caught their attention. And later on, because of the connections that we had, we found out through an ATF contact that not only had they been watching us, but they were tapped into the GPS in my truck, into our phones, and trying to figure out who we are. Are we a part of this? Are we this drug dealer's enforcers? What are we? Right.
Right.
And it was a real gut check for me looking through my own dossier after the fact to see and realize how predictable I was. Right. We went to the gun range at the same time. We went to the dojo at the same time. We drove the same routes everywhere we went. Right. My roommate, my training partner, went to smoke essentially at the same times every day. And of course, after
clockwork, especially with smoking, it's like I eat, I smoke, I come out, I smoke, I drive home, I smoke. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a predictability of like, oh, they just parked. They're going to go in, set down his stuff, and he's going to come out and he's going to smoke.
Right. And a good surveillance team will have you pegged in a couple of days. and they'll know
Not even days, hours sometimes.
Yeah. And so that level of predictability, now extrapolate, that information from the context of law enforcement watching you to somebody with nefarious, ideations. They want what you have. They want entry. They want your stuff. They want to hurt you in particular.
Right.
Are you safe? And so, we're not trying to drive this idea of paranoia around, but what are you doing on a regular basis that makes you unsafe? You're doing the same thing every day, the same way. You've got these predictable patterns. You are, in a sense, diluting your safety. So it's just a mindset that we want to try to drive home today, where you can take this information for what it is and apply it to your life. Maybe you do take different routes, but maybe you always go to the same gas station to fill up in the morning. Somebody can set their watch for the time you're going to go in and go pick up your coffee from the gas station, pick up that fresh pack of smokes and head out on your way. So,
or even women, some people, I mean, when we go on transports, you and I are notorious for it. We'll put the gas pump into the truck or into the whatever we're rolling around in, and we'll leave the gas pump and go inside, and we'll get our snacks or get our energy drinks or our coffee or whatever it is, and then we come back out. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, if gas wasn't so expensive and, whatever. But, my mindset is, if I had nothing to lose and I needed fuel, I'm going to watch for somebody like that. And I'm just going to pull that gas out. I'm going to get a few gallons of gas while you're messing around, and then I'll go put it back in and drive away. What are you going to do? You're going to manhandle me for stealing your gas? You didn't even pay attention that I was sitting right there not doing anything.
Right. And that situation can turn very quickly from you're losing, $20 worth of gas into somebody's, canister to a full-blown altercation with somebody with it. They really don't care.
Right. I mean, it's even, you can watch on YouTube, people distract somebody pumping gas, and because your doors aren't locked, they reach in and grab a woman's purse off, because women are notorious for putting their purse on the passenger seat.
Right.
Well, if you're not paying attention, I can pop your door open, grab your purse, and be on my way.
Yeah, everybody who's ever had a sleeping baby knows that you can open and close a door, completely silent.
Right. And it's one of those things and that's how you get carjacked too. I don't lock my front door, but when I'm driving down the road, I make sure my door's locked. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but in my vehicle, you know what I mean? If I'm at a stoplight or something like that. But I've also seen some pretty horrendous freaking carjackings too.
Right. Modern cars, as soon as you put it in drive, they lock the doors automatically.
Right.
Why is that? It's
sometimes it's annoying.
it's not to keep you in, it's to keep people out.
Right.
They've figured out that one of the major safety concerns of a vehicle is how exposed you are because you're a sitting duck in your vehicle.
Right.
So now let's say you get to work. You've locked down your home, you've evaluated, you have safety plans with your family, with your kids. Now you go to work, and it's the same droning computer, phone meetings, boardroom,
when you walk in,
water cooler talk. What's going on there? Are you safe? Do you have an assigned parking spot? Assigned parking spots are the worst idea in the entire world.
Right.
If you are a CEO, if you are a CFO, and you're showing up every day in, let's say it's not even a particularly flashy car,
a nicer car.
It's a nicer car, but you pull into the CEO spot every single day. you're my target.
Right.
I want you.
Right.
I don't want the guy that has to park at the very back of the parking lot every day.
Driving the Zuzu pickup truck.
In his 98 Lincoln Town car, you know.
I don't know. That car's pretty dope. I might steal that car.
So what is it that your office is doing? What is it that your business is doing to secure themselves, for you to be that protector in that environment? You know, if you work in an office full of women or particularly educated men who don't have the particular skill sets that you're seeking. One of the reasons that you're sitting here listening to us jabber on, what is it that you're doing to help them identify, and what are you doing, you know, to alleviate the concerns of serious safety issues?
You know what's funny? With not to get sidetracked, but you know, I have noticed in the recent years of having classes and things like that, I'm noticing that there is more of the white collar folks actually coming to these courses. And they're coming to these courses because they know that they are not as safe as they thought they were. And I think that that's a huge thing. I promote it with everybody, whether you're blue collar, white collar, it doesn't really matter. As long as you work and you help aid the community, whether you're a business owner or whatever, I think that everybody needs to be educated. But, you know, those are the people that I want to reach. Those are the people that, you know, I want to get in that mindset of, you know, hey, I park in the same spot every day. I drive the same place. I stop at the same coffee shop every day. I have the same lunch. You know, it's delivered. I can guarantee you that, you know, that guy or that lady that does that, they order 3 things. They have 3 things that they order, and that is it, from Uber Eats or whoever it is, 3 different restaurants or the same restaurant, whatever. You can guarantee it.
Right. And if you can see through the front doors of the building as the Uber Eats driver is delivering the CEO's lunch every day, and you time it, you say, oh, you know, as he, you know, the Uber Eats driver goes in, he raises the bag, which is kind of his signal to the security guy, like, hey, I'm, you know, bringing the lunch in. I go 10 minutes before that, I'm in your office.
Well, it's not even that anymore. Like if you can time it, because back in the day, as Jocko Willink would say, I'm a big fan of Jocko. Anyways, so, you know, you can go and say, hey, I'm here to pick up for so-and-so. Now, they're a little bit better about looking at the app. Some restaurants are, but some restaurants aren't.
They're too busy.
Yeah, so they don't pay
Lunchtime
attention.
rush.
It's easy enough. You know what that label is by looking at a little bit of garbage.
All I need is a bag from that place. Right. If I've got a bag with their logo on it, I am through the front door, and that's social engineering.
Oh yeah, easily.
You know, one of my idols, Neil Strauss, shorter guy, you know, on the smaller side. Neil, I'm not trying to insult you, sir, but he realized at some point, like you were talking about with these white collar guys, that as a very accomplished author, writer, longtime contributor to Rolling Stones, and then had written several successful books, he was not as capable as he would like to be.
Right.
You know, and if somebody of his stature, if he was pinned against a wall in a bad situation, what was he going to do? And so he started taking training, and he took training from several of my mentors who I have an immense amount of respect for, that opened his eyes to how unsafe he was.
Right.
Yeah, all that money, you know, all of that, I don't want to use the word privilege, but, you know, all that presence that comes with being in that world and being known.
Right.
You're not as safe as you think you are. And so, like you say, a lot of these white collar guys are really starting to figure it out. we talked about last time, one of our mentors, Kevin Reeve,
Right.
with On Point Tactical, he took a bunch of us out to Miami to run a training workshop. It was this long weekend training workshop for a bunch of hedge fund managers who were coming down to learn some legitimate skill sets that they just don't have.
Right.
To understand that because of who they are, they're bigger targets than the rest of us.
Right.
You know, you're talking about the purse in the car, the wallet in my back pocket. These guys are rolling around in, you know, Bentleys with Rolexes, you know, multi-$1,000, you know, suits. They stand out, you know, in a crowd.
Right. Prada shoes, Prada sunglasses. Shout out to Mr. Eric Parker. You know, he's proud of them red bottom shoes. I'm just talking smack, Eric.
So they realize, okay, well, maybe I don't have it all figured out. I've got the business thing figured out. I'm making millions of dollars. I'm a hedge fund manager.
Right.
However, I'm required to own kidnapping insurance by my board of trustees or board,
Right.
You know, the people that really run the business behind the scenes.
Right.
Right. So I've got to have this kidnapping insurance. Why? Because you're a target. And so they were learning how to get out of handcuffs, how to get out of, you know, being duct taped or flexi cuffed, you know, being thrown in a trunk of a car, you know, the disorienting, you know, factor of being driven around and not sure where you are. And suddenly you find your open moment, you bail out of a car, and now you're on the street. What do you do?
Right.
How do you negotiate the bad side of town when you haven't seen, you know, Skid Row in 20 years?
Right. Or even less. Like some of these guys just hit it real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I in the EP world, well, executive protection, you know, I've worked for some clients where the head of security, the first opening is, you know, it's like a safety brief, tying in that safety brief of, you know, hey, this is, you know, kind of his medical situation. If they have medical situations or hers or whatever. And then on top of that, this is the kidnapping insurance company. Like, not he's married, not anything like that. I get medical, and then I get the awareness of who they're insured for kidnapping.
Right.
And I mean, that's a really...
Who you got to call when it goes bad.
Right. I got to call the cops, and then I got to call the insurance company. So it's one of those, like, it's just crazy to me. When I first found out about kidnapping insurance, I thought it was just a movie thing. And then when I really got in deep into executive protection, I was like, this is a real thing. Holy cow. Like,
Oh, they're not playing around.
Yeah, they're not playing around. And it's not, you know, my insurance is, you know, $1,000 a month. These guys are paying millions in a year just for the insurance.
Yeah. Well, because that ultimately that's what they're going to have to pay,
Right.
if they get snatched up.
Right. But it's just crazy to really kind of put that into perspective of, you know, you're in your mid 40s and you're a hedge fund manager, and suddenly now you're faced with the thought of, I could be kidnapped and the cops are going to look for me. But, you know, in the time that they start looking, you know, that's 4 or 5 hours. Well, if a kidnapper's smart, they're 4 or 5 hours ahead of the police.
Right.
So,
And in a lot of situations,
you could be out of the state by then.
you could be out of the country.
Oh,
if you're in
easily.
California,
Easily.
if you're in Malibu, right, and you get snatched up outside of your home while you're picking up the mail,
Right.
you could be on the wrong side of the border.
Oh, easily in 5 hours.
Yeah. You're gone. You're
Right.
gone at that point.
And especially these, you know, the cartels or the mafia or whatever you want to call it, the nefarious people in Mexico. Is that the right word? Nefarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, nefarious. I'm going above my pay grade with
I'm
education.
sure at some point we mentioned that we were both in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I eat crayons for snacks. Anyways, they have enough money to do this. They have air support. A lot of these guys have planes. They have helicopters.
Right. Drones.
Drones.
Drones are a huge thing right now.
Well, not even drones, but I mean, I guess they do have drones that are big enough to carry somebody away. But I'm just saying, you can put somebody in a small little bird or something like that and fly very quickly below radar from Malibu to Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And you were gone.
Yeah, I was thinking surveillance in my head when I said.
Well, yeah, even for surveillance, but at the same time, I'm just saying you get snatched up. Like, I have those assets, which those guys do because they have that kind of money,
Right.
and they don't care. They're after the dollar, and well, they don't get it, they'll just kill you.
Right. And
Especially a hedge fund manager.
well, and we talk about safety in the workplace. And especially with these high-end, white collar businesses, if you're Fortune 500, we're preaching to the choir when we say things like, you need to make sure that you're having regular bug sweeps of your building.
Right.
You need to make sure that you have physical security, not just cameras, not just sensors, and alarms and things like that. You need to have physical security on your building, on your campus, walking around who understand what a regular day looks like, and then when that regular day changes. Right.
And not lowest bidder security company, an actual security company.
Right. Yeah. If your security guard is getting paid $9.50 an hour to watch your front lobby, you are getting less security than if there wasn't anybody there. Well, because the mystique of not having anyone there and having cameras is better than having that guy who's been staring at his phone for 6 hours
or
worshiping his plastic Jesus
or doing TikToks while they should be actually at the gate
or asleep.
Oh yeah, asleep. Don't get me started with asleep.
Right. So if you can dial that in as the bad guy,
it's not hard.
It's not hard, and therefore you've got these holes that make you unsafe.
Right. And I think that's a huge thing. I'm not trying to get off subject, but, there's this huge battle right now in the security world is everybody's trying to underbid everybody else because nobody wants to pay for the security. But it's that mentality of you want a $10 an hour guy, you're going to get a $5 an hour guy.
Right.
That's how that works. And the turnover rate is every week you're going to see a new face.
Right.
Because who cares?
Exactly.
I'm making $10 an hour. I don't care. Like literally when I was doing physical security like that at $10 an hour and I wasn't getting any overtime and I literally had to sit and watch dry paint dry or, check badges. I didn't care. It's a crappy thing to say, but week after week after week, when you start seeing the same face over and over and
complacency
over,
kills.
Yeah. It just turned into, oh yeah, you forgot your badge.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No. And you and I both started there. We both started, what I would consider, at least now that we're here at the bottom, doing that menial physical security job, making $11 an hour
at most,
especially
here in Utah.
Just punching a clock.
Right.
There were at some points at the beginning where I'm getting the brief of like, okay, well, we do this and this is how we do this way. And this is how we do the log sheets, yada, yada. And my brain is like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. I'm not going to remember any of this.
Right.
Cause I'm going to sit down as soon as you're gone. I'm going to log into the log sheets, that I did, 10 walks around the parking lot,
right.
Time it out, line it out, sign it. And then I'm going to walk around when I have a smoke break.
Right.
And that's it.
And my face is still going to be buried into my plastic Jesus.
Yeah. So you get what you pay for, and look, We are not the guys. If you're looking for us to talk about the professionalism, of some of these things, you're in the wrong place, because you're going to get the story behind the story of what's really going on. If you're showing up to work and you know that Al is always at the front gate and you wave at Al, Al could care less if he saw you come in that day or not.
Right.
If you got snatched up at your house, Al might think, oh, that was weird. I don't remember seeing Mr. Frost today.
Right.
But he's not paid to come check on you.
Right.
He's not paid to make a phone call and say,
or look at the computer and see if Mr. Frost is in and available for a phone call if you're fielding calls sometimes, because sometimes that's what you do when you're front desk.
Right.
There's that little thing that says you're in and out on a calendar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to think, oh, whatever. It's just, oh, I didn't see Mr. Frost today, whatever. Or I didn't see Scotty Don't, or, I didn't see Mr. Valentine today, type of thing, where, you get guys that work with you in and out, and they get a decent pay. I mean, there is, kind of that evolution in security, and I'm not trying to get away from, we're talking a lot about security, but, in the office and things like that. But, it is an evolution. If you want to be in the security field, you have to put in your work to watch that try paint, check those badges, things like that. But it's also up to you to go ahead and get the training that you need in order to excel.
Right.
And make yourself available for that.
Well, and that's kind of one of those things, and it almost feels like we've detracted from what we were saying. But if you think about it, you aren't the only one, and this goes into ego again. You're not the only one that's there to protect yourself and the people around you.
Right.
Which is why if you are performing a serious job, if your business does a lot of business,
right,
you need to have physical security.
Right.
You should have someone somewhere whose job it is exclusively to have an eye on the safety of your building, the safety of the people in your building.
Safety director.
Yeah.
I mean, your security director, safety director, having the protocols and enforcing those protocols for safety.
Right. Unpopular opinion. I think everybody should be armed all the time. And if you're going to work and your company's policy is that you can't carry a firearm in the building, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I'm not a lawyer. This does not constitute any sort of legal advice. However, if you're going to a place that is telling you you're not allowed to protect your own life, it is, in my opinion, your responsibility to break that rule, because you can get fired.
Maybe in an office setting, but I could definitely see like in a manufacturer setting or.
Oh, sure. I mean, if there's legitimate, serious safety issues associated with the probability that you drop or snag or whatever your firearm, sure.
Right.
But maybe it gets locked up in your locker when you get there, whatever it is that you're doing. But too many to count. These situations where people are caught in a dangerous, deadly situation.
Especially active shooter situations.
Active shooter situations where they have no defense.
Well, they're uneducated. And I'm not going to say they don't have any defense. That's where improvised weapons come into play.
Well, but what's the best defense against a guy with a gun?
Power numbers.
Having a gun.
Yeah, but also not being there.
Well, sure. And of course,
I mean, a lot of people say, oh, that's a coward way to go. Well, guess what? I get to see another day if I'm not there.
Right.
To be very honest with you. Now, if I don't have a choice, I'm going to organize everybody and have that kind of Israeli mindset of like, if we all attack and attack and attack, chances are one of us might get shot.
Hey, if I hear gunshots in the lobby, I'm taking the first emergency exit out of there.
Right.
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 And I'm
taking everybody
beating
behind
feet.
me. I'm trying to grab everyone to come with me.
Sure. And I'm beating feet out of that building and letting law enforcement do what law enforcement's job is.
Right.
However, if you're the guy in the lobby and you don't have the option to escape, and coming at him with a keyboard is not your primary option,
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of different options. And I think that element of surprise. And I think that having the mindset of, hey, they're not going to let me carry. They're not going to let me carry, maybe ask for forgiveness, act now, ask for forgiveness later. You know me.
Right.
I'm 100% of that example. Even when I've been told this is not happening, it still happens.
Right.
I mean, we'll get into a story about the airport and guns. But it's one of those things that, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to do it. And then you can tell me later, hey, you're jacked up.
Well, and a lot of businesses and business owners are waking up to this now, and they realize that if I trust you with making $100,000 transactions every day, millions of dollars worth of transactions, if I trust you with that, and you tell me, hey, I've been to a firearms proficiency course, I have taken, an advanced shooting course, I have my concealed weapons permit, here it is, I'm going to let you bring your gun.
Right. And that's a totally different aspect. But when you start talking about, I make you hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. I don't know why I can't talk right now. Anyways, if you're doing that, the stress level goes up because you're held to that standard. When you hold somebody to that kind of standard all the time, I kind of feel like the mindset for somebody who is under that kind of pressure all the time can kind of have that postal, like, go crazy of like, oh crap, I didn't make my numbers. I haven't made my numbers all week. I've had enough. And then you get that boss that comes by and is like, hey, we need that TAP report. So if you could do that right now, that'd be great, as he stands there and, swirls his coffee in his coffee.
I'm going to need you to come in on Sunday.
Right. You understand what I'm saying.
No,
and I think that's where kind of that mindset comes in for some employers. But at the same time, I totally agree with you. Like, if you're capable of carrying and you can prove that you are proficient in at least having a safe mindset, and you are, at least you've made that attempt to go to courses and things like that. Yes, carry. I mean, ultimately, hopefully, when we have our office buildings and we're at that level, damn well that, everybody that works for us is going to be a proficient shooter anyways, because it will be required that you shoot on a regular basis. But, that's just my mindset. But not everybody has that same mindset.
Right. Well, and that's where, these other levels of training, these other levels of self-evaluation come into play, because you're not always going to be able to have your firearm on you.
Right.
And so
that's why
where
I like improvised weapons.
Sure. And if you don't have a plan to succeed, you have a plan to fail.
Right.
So, and that's ultimately what we're talking about. You've created an environment for yourself where you're evaluating best case scenario, second best, worst case scenario.
Right.
And A through Z, 1 through 1,000. Wait
till
Mr. Valentine.
I got plan A 1 through 1,000.
I got
A2.
plans on plans.
Yeah, he's got a plan for everything, and I love him for that. However, sometimes it drives me nuts because he says, I want to be more spontaneous. All right, let's go to Thailand in 2 days. Wait, I can't wait. Where are we gonna? What? Doesn't matter. Just have your passport. Meet me at the airport.
Yeah. See, you tell that to me, and I'm already getting on the State Department website, and I'm looking at the country brief, that safe travelers brief or whatever.
That says do not travel. And I'm still over there like, hey, I've already got plane tickets. We're all going.
Like, look, man, we can go to Bangkok, but it says we've got to stay out of Ling Lao. Yeah, I'm not going to. No, they've got elephant riding in Ling Lao. No, I'm not going, man.
Yeah, but I'm that guy that's like, I've already booked the elephant ride. We're already going to the temples. You know what I mean? That's my mindset because I trust in my skills.
Right.
I trust with the people that I travel with. I surround myself with people that I know are capable of, or at least capable of following direction.
Well, and that's what we've talked about before about tribe. If you are taking yourself to a training camp, right? Either I'm going with you, or when you come home, you're teaching me everything you just learned.
Right.
Take good notes.
Right.
Have a great time.
But that's the expectation between all of us.
Right.
I mean, it is one of those things like I'm kind of stepping back from the security field and going towards wildland fire. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I'm getting away from security. It just means that I want to try something else. And I'm actually learning. It's just another skill set to put in my toolbox that it turns into, okay, that course teaches me rescue ropes, teaches me a lot of different stuff. And then I'm going to go to fast water rescue. Well, I'm going to come back and teach you guys the knots. I'm going to come back and teach you guys the mindset. I'm going to come back and, explain that kind of stuff that is going to be useful for my tribe.
Right.
Whether it be you or Mr. Valentine or, even other people in our tribe.
Family, friends.
That they can benefit from this information.
Right. It's interesting as you're going out into the big scary world every day. A lot of people get that complacency built in to every aspect of what they're doing. I was watching some gal the other day as I was standing in a parking lot. I was finishing up a phone call, and she's staring at her phone, and she walks right into the cart return, like almost trips, falls over into the carts.
I've done that to hitches on the back of trucks, walking between cars.
Kicking the hitches, because you're in your own head.
Right.
And especially for some of us when we go out, the last thing you want to do is be interacting with all the strange folk, wandering around like zombies in Walmart or whatever at 2:00 in the morning.
I hate people.
I want to see what I came to see. I want to buy what I came to buy, whatever it is. I want to mind my own business, and I want you to mind yours.
Right. Stay out of my bubble. Exactly.
The problem is that we close our minds off to what is possible. And I'm not saying be paranoid.
Right.
I'm not saying that you should have, your mind stuck in this constant state of alarm for every little thing that could go wrong. It's not healthy. Right. You'll burn out. However, you do have to have situational awareness, and we're going to have a full episode on situational awareness because
probably have a couple because I love situational awareness.
Yeah, the mentality, the mindset that you should be having when you leave the house is, okay, I have a plan. I'm going to go here. I'm going to buy these things, and in the meantime, I'm checking as I come through the door. Is there a greeter standing there smiling at me, or does the greeter look nervous?
Right.
As I'm shopping down the aisles, are there people scooting by me really fast? Or are people just lackadaisically, shopping for their goods too? What's going on around me? What's the tempo? What's the feeling in the situation I'm in?
Most definitely. I mean, that's a great kind of precursor to next month. I'll probably go in depth a little bit more about my experience working with troubled youth and how they are robbing people during the holiday seasons. We'll probably go over some of the little tricks that they use, especially at Walmarts, big malls, things like that, that will probably save a lot of people if they pay a little bit of attention and are able to just employ it and even look out for one another.
Right. Because desperation is dangerous.
Right.
You know, and when you have desperate people and you're not aware, if you're not prepared, you haven't created that safe plan, then you're a target.
Right. And I generally don't go a lot of places by myself if it's very far, unless if I have a job or something like that that's just me. But, generally it's Scotty Doan or Mr. Valentine or somebody else that I know I'm meeting somewhere. But there's power in numbers. You know what I mean? You look out for one another. It is a key thing to really kind of pay attention to one another and look out for one another. And I think that that's something we need to do more of as humans, just looking out for one another. Even though I say I hate people, I don't hate people. I just hate the mentality of some people.
Right. No, and so, there's different, as we get towards the end of this and we're wrapping up, there's a lot of little things going on in your daily life that could use the attention, that needs the attention. And all we're really talking about here today is that if you put your ego down for a second and just kind of open your eyes, ask your family, ask your friends, ask your coworkers, hey, what's our emergency action plan? Where is the fire extinguisher?
Where's the MSDS book?
Right. A material safety data sheet can save someone's life.
Right. Even in an office environment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like straight up office environment, you're still dealing with some chemicals, sometimes printer ink.
Yeah. First aid kits, AEDs.
Right. Especially AEDs now that we're all super unhealthy Americans, me included.
And, we make fun of everybody for having their phones in their hands all the time, but you need to have your phone on you.
Right.
I resisted for a really long time getting a smartwatch. But
still not happening for me.
I clap my hands too hard every now and again, and my watch buzzes, and I look down at my watch and it says, hey, did you fall? Like swipe, to dismiss, or swipe for, turning on your SOS,
Right.
beacon. That's an incredible invention. Like,
I don't like that.
if you come to a sudden stop from a fall,
Right.
or a car accident, and you hit a tree at 2 a.m., swerving away from a deer,
Right.
and nobody knows. We drove to Escalante the other day,
Right.
on a transport, almost hit a deer.
True.
If you'd have been by yourself, or if we'd have been coming back from that transport, nobody was looking for us for hours.
Right.
No one's going to know that we're gone until we're gone.
Right.
And have been,
Right.
so that's ultimately the hard press that we're trying to convey today, is that there's always room for improvement. There's always room for making sure you and your people are on the same page, and whatever it is that your people encompasses that day. If you're at home, if you're at work, if you're at the ball game, hey, you're going to a comedy show with a handful of friends,
Even the bar.
even the bar. Hey,
going out
who's
to
the
the bar.
designated driver?
Right.
And if I identify as the designated driver and you see me have a drink, it's over. Hey,
Right.
guess what?
We're Ubering.
We are Ubering.
Right.
You know?
I don't know how, because I'm not the most social butterfly, but I'll tell you what, you know what I mean? I've been around people that are like, oh yeah, I'm the designated driver, and they're more wasted than I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the night, it's like, oh, what happened? Well, I met this dude and I saw this guy that I knew, and
this guy bought me a drink. I was wearing my, Marine Corps veteran hat.
Right. And then I pulled out a coin because we challenged and,
He challenged coin, man. I lost and I had to buy rounds for everybody. Yeah, no. And, even the best laid plans don't survive first contact.
Right.
And so you can plan for every contingency, but if you set yourself up for success up front, at least you have a fighting chance at that point. If something goes awry, if you're confronted with a sudden and urgent situation, and it doesn't matter what it is, it could be a medical issue, it could be a safety, danger issue with the bad guys, whatever the case may be. And so, try to take that out tomorrow, today. Just evaluate what you're doing. Just open your eyes a little bit and try to identify one thing that you could do different in every environment that you're in.
Right. And that when we first started talking about like the classroom situation, get in your car, put on your seatbelt, take a deep breath.
Put on your seatbelt, Mr. Frost? As my car dings at you for 5 minutes?
I don't like seatbelts. Anyways, but as you're sitting there, whether you put on your seatbelt or not, it's the law.
Yeah, no, and nobody's perfect.
Yeah, and take a deep breath and really focus on the task at hand. The task at hand. I am driving to work. I'm driving to go get gas. I'm driving to go pick up kids, or I got the kids in the car. Do I have the kids in the car?
Right.
I've picked everybody up that I think I'm supposed to pick up. Is everybody in the car that's supposed to be in the car?
Right.
Taking that breath and really taking a minute, thinking the task at hand of I am going to drive on this road.
Yep. Okay, stop picking your phone up at the stoplight.
Right.
Stop staring at your phone, when you're waiting in front of your kid's school to pick them up.
Right.
Because that's what I'm waiting for. I am your bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
I am hunting you right now.
We will do a whole episode, if not a couple, talking about snatching up kids and how easy it is for us.
Scary easy.
To identify where you live with Google. Just Google.
Yeah.
Social engineering at its best with Google and Google Maps. I can almost identify your physical address with pictures. It's scary. And then add school. We have an associate that is in the EP world that's throughout, and I saw him have a post on Facebook, and it was his whole family essentially in the picture, and I noticed that he had actually blacked out his kids' uniforms that had the school name on them.
I saw that.
And that just shows the forward thinking of like, he's a pretty private guy for the most part, but when he shares stuff, even in our community, he still hides it for a good reason.
Right.
For a very good reason. His family is pretty, I like to think that they're part of my extended family and I do anything for them. But, that forward thinking of like, I don't want to show where my kids are, Right. Especially in the industry that we work and especially what he does. He probably has far more enemies than he has fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's where the 7 Ps come from.
Right.
Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Right.
So, all right, guys, with that, let's blow the door and get the hell out of here. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. We are Oppositional Forces, and I am Scotty Don't here with Mr. Frost. We're really grateful to have all of you. Follow us on Instagram at Op4Tactics and Op4_bad guys. Facebook, we are Op4Tactical, and you can find us on the web at www.badguyforhire.com. Thanks again. We will see you next time. Thank you for listening to Oppositional Forces, Wage War, and Stack Bodies.